Peace, peace, and more peace, family. If you found that thumbnail engaging enough to click on this video, thank you so much for joining me here. My name is Mark Anthony, and this is Elevated Talk, right? Cosmic Show. Today, we're going to be getting into a very known thing, all right? But before we get into this, I want to express my gratitude again and let you in on the mission, okay? Now, before we even do that, let's take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath, okay? The mission is to impact and inspire deeper realization within all beings. And now that may look different for everybody. But what is important is that you start with yourself. What inspires you? What impacts you? How do you create deeper realization? What experiences? What things, right? Ask those questions and definitely check out the most recent video in which we delve into that, right? But yet again, we're gonna get up here with not the YouTube family. We on YouTube right now, the Instagram family. Let's see. Perfect. And so we're going to be talking about today how to navigate through the dark night of the soul. Okay. Now, here on the channel and on Instagram, all right, we're bridging the families together today, on Instagram and YouTube right now. I've talked about how collectively we are going through a dark night of the soul. And what I mean by this and what is a dark night of the soul is it's a moment in anybody's journey in which the perceptions, the narratives, your identity, your false identity, right, that you've been told you are, and the truth, right? Those first three things I named start to fall, they start to crumble, and the truth starts to rise. Now, that can be very uncomfortable, and it can bring a lot of darkness. And it's almost like you're in the corner, and it's like the hits don't stop. They just come, realization after realization. You notice something about yourself, and then you notice something else about yourself, and it can be very chaotic. But I was talking to a brother yesterday, and he asked me a good question, and I told him, the dark night of the soul, it's an initiation. It's an initiation into your purpose, into your power, into your true connection with the higher realms, your higher self. And so what has to happen is those old things, those old paradigms, they have to fall. They have to be relinquished from your being so that you can make space for something greater, for the greater being that you are, right? And so it looks different for everybody, but usually what happens and why I laugh is because I relate this to the micro and the macro, right? So usually what happens is the dark night of the soul is usually sparked by a traumatic event. And this could be a heartbreak. This could be a very dark event. And I don't want to, go into, but it can be a multitude of things. It could be you lost somebody. It can be just something resurfaces. It usually is sparked by something dark, because if we think about it, that darkness, it's acting as infinite potential. You don't know what's in that darkness, right? So when that darkness is sparked within us, it's sparking that energy. It's sparking, right, that potential of what is. So when we have that event, whatever it is for any of you, for me it was a heartbreak, right? That heartbreak sent me into a deep exploration and knowing of self, right? Whatever it is, I want to go over four steps to help us navigate this dark night of the soul. And so relating this to the macro, right? And why I say that we are experiencing a collective dark night of the soul is because I feel like, and this is like no political bias, I feel like when Donald Trump came in and signed those 27 executive orders, I feel like that was the collective's traumatic event. I feel like that was the collective's like awakening or like traumatic, like, oh, what the fuck? What was going on? What's going on? And I think it's sparking a lot of uncertainty. It's sparking a lot of anger. It's sparking a lot of sadness, and that usually is what happens when that first initial what do you call that? Like the initial beginning. I don't want to call it the Big Bang. Like that initial like just cosmic event. It sparks a lot of emotions that probably have been suppressed. So now all of these things start to rise, right? And you relate this to the macro. Now all of these things are starting to rise. Truth, lies, all types of things are starting to rise. And it can be uncomfortable. It can be very difficult to handle. Your mind doesn't know how to process this because it's a whole bunch of new energy coming in. It's like a dam breaking, and now you're having to deal with maybe suppressed emotions and suppressed things that have been there, and due to the programming and survival mode you haven't dealt with it, right? So how do we navigate this dark night of the soul? And I want to speak anything I give, like I want to leave this to y'all, right? Think of it, because I'm gonna talk like from a personal level, but then think of, what are some macro ways that we could navigate through what we're going through right now, right? So the first step is acceptance. That's the first step. It's probably gonna be the hardest step, but it's acceptance. And why I say acceptance is because once it starts, and you'll know once it starts, it's different for everybody. It's important to recognize and not to disregard where you're at, but it's a phase. Now, how long it will last will be dependent on, whether or not you choose to face it or not, whether or not you choose to actually sit with what rises and do the healing, right? And now I don't want to say healing's a phase, but that dark night of the soul, it's a phase where it's just a lot of darkness and you have to transmute it, you have to face it. And so what helps with that is accepting that. Accepting wherever you are in your journey, right? Just be in it. Don't fight it. And I can tell you right now, do not shame yourself. Do not beat yourself up for where you are in your journey, especially if you are going through chaos, if you are going through ups and downs. Everybody faces the dark night of the soul differently. But the key thing is the darkness that comes. But like I said in the beginning, that darkness is lying as infinite potential. It's calling for us to explore it so that we can go beyond our mental perceptions of it and begin to understand it. And by choosing to lean more into that acceptance, we can choose to understand, okay, why do I have this habit? Why are these thoughts coming? Like, where are these thoughts stemming from? Right? Why do I have this negative self-talk? Like, why do I talk down on myself? And then you start to put the pieces together like, oh, damn. When I was a kid, I was told this. When I was a kid, I was bullied and this caused this. And now I'm carrying that because I never dealt with that, right? So acceptance opens the door for us to sit with the emotions that we are having. And so it's important from personal experience that we do not, and it's a practice, that we do not sink into shame, that we do not sink into adding fuel to that negative fire, because we have to view it from that balanced standpoint. The darkness is only showing us the deepest parts of ourselves so that we can learn to accept it and begin to awaken the greatest light within us. Before that to happen, we have to sit with those things. So the first step to navigating this dark night of the soul is acceptance. Releasing the shame, releasing the guilt, and releasing the negative self-talk, and asking the deeper questions. Being willing to sit with your emotions rather than disregard them, right? And it's easy to do that because, oh, I got work, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And it's easy to do that. It's easy to push aside your emotions and come through and be like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, right? But I want to ask you and the Instagram family, I see y'all. Much love, much love. To take time. Oh, shit. Hey, that might be the practice. That might be the practice. I had a sister, for the YouTube family, I had a sister say, I hate sitting with my emotions. That might be where you're being called to, right? So I wanna ask all of you to take time to sit with your emotions, especially during these times, because there is a lot, peace, brother. There is a lot of energy that is rising, both in the external world, but in ourselves, because we are connected. We are connected to the cosmos. So these energy alignments that are going on right now, and you've heard me talk about it on all platforms. We have the age of Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, 2025 being that year of the nine. It's a lot of potent energy that's going on, that's calling for us to look at how our previous habits, where they have left us, both microly and macroly, right? Ask ourselves, look at where our previous habits have left us, and then call for us to do something different. And so this brings me to my next step to help you navigate through this dark night of the soul, which is narrow your focus, right? As we know, each time we're going to look into the news, we're going to see something new. We're going to see a new headline. We're going to see something different. And during this potent energy where we're going through shifts and changes, every day we're going to notice something new about ourselves. We're going to notice a new habit. We're going to notice a negative pattern or paradigm. And if we try to focus our energy so much on this and that and this and that, we're going to spread ourselves too thin. And eventually that chaos is going to consume us, and we're going to want to close down, and we're not going to want to do anything. Now, to that point, it's important that we honor isolation, because we're dealing with these potent energies, and it's important that we're not influenced by so many different factors that we lose ourselves in that process. So that's why I say step number 2 is narrow your focus, okay? And what I mean by that is, say you're in this transition. You're learning about yourself, you're noticing things about yourself. It's a lot. Choose one thing. Choose one thing that you want to focus on, okay? Say it's your self-talk, right? Say it's your self-talk, okay? Say you want to better that. So then ask yourself, it's 2 things. Where is that self-talk coming from? And then also, what can I replace that with, right? Shout out to the sister Jerry. We just had a beautiful event, Consistent Elevation, where we talked about affirmations, right? Affirmations. These are great practices to substitute that negative self-talk. I was talking to a brother yesterday, and he was talking about how his negative self-talk comes in and says, hey, I'm trying to, you trying to change, you're not finna change. Like this very like, it's an ego, right? The ego trying to test you, and your mind trying to test you and things like that. When that happens, do not be afraid to use your willpower to combat that. To be like, yes, I am trying to change. When your mind tries to feed you these negative thoughts, stop that loop and be like, yes, I am trying to change. I am changing, right? And so for me, the way, like, and this goes back to narrowing your focus, right? Choose something that you want to work on, right? Choose something that you want to focus your energy on, right? And then focus there. And so if it's self-talk, you have affirmations, and straight up just combating those negative self-talk, right? Straight up just being like, yes, I'm done with, beating myself up. I'm done with putting myself in the ground. And every time those thoughts start to rise, replace it with something. don't let that loop of negativity keep on running and running and running, because then it's just going to keep on running and running and running. And so we have that power. And so by narrowing our focus, it allows us to direct that energy no longer at trying to focus on this and this, but it allows us to be like, nah, I'm going to focus on this. And when this happens, boom, I'm going to focus on that. Now, it's not to disregard the things that may still be arising, but what's important is that we don't let that consume us, because there is going to be a lot of energy. There is going to be a lot of distractions and headlines that try to get our energy, but it's important that we have something that can bring us back to focus, right? IDK, isolation can be a challenge, especially when the thoughts are too loud. And this brings me to my next practice, okay? Journaling. Journaling is so important. I feel like journaling for me is my bread and butter, and it's what helped me get through my dark night of the soul while also going through the chakras, okay? Little shameless plug. I did drop a divine chakra course down below. It's in the link in the bio as well. The chakras view it as an internal map to understand where your trauma is stemming from, to understand where your habits are stemming from. And I use journaling plus going through the chakras to help me evolve into the being that you guys see right now. Okay, link in the description for YouTube, for my Instagram family. Link is in the bio. Okay, but journaling is so important because, as the sister stated, the thoughts are loud. The thoughts are very, very, very loud. They're very loud. I don't even want to disregard that. They're loud, right? Peace, my brother. Peace, my brother. But journaling acts as a way of releasing, right? It's not the end all be all. It's not going to solve everything, but it allows us to get it's an energy, right? Those negative thoughts, they act as an energy, right? And so if we don't have any form of releasing, or if we're not stopping that negative energy with replacing it with affirmations, or replacing it with substituting it for saying, talking back to ourselves, right? Then it's very easy for that energy to build up, and it becomes dense, right? So journaling has been a constant practice in my experience because it helps me release. It helps me talk about what I'm observing, right? When I was going through my dark night of the soul, I was observing so much. It's like my mind turned into just this computic analyzer, and I was just noticing every single small tidbit, my habits, my the way I showed up, the way I was thinking, the way I was talking. Like, I was noticing everything, and it was just coming in. And I would sit down and journal about it. Anything that I could remember, because like I said, it was a lot. Anything that I could remember noticing, I would just journal about it. I would journal about what I was observing, journal about, what I was seeing and how it was making me feel, and how this thought was connected to this emotion, and how this could possibly stem from this inner child experience, and really choosing to understand the roots of where these things are coming from. Because if we don't take the time to understand the roots, then we can clip off the head, right? We can maybe, lay on a Band-Aid, but that root to that bad habit or that bad self-talk is still going to be there, and it's eventually going to grow back. So we have to be willing to sit with our emotions and face the roots of where those things are coming from. And a great way to do that is journaling, because when we journal, what's happening is we're literally speaking to our subconscious mind. When we allow ourselves to just lay on those pages what's on our hearts, what's on our mind, we are literally talking to the deeper parts of ourselves. So even something that you may have noticed subconsciously throughout your day, when you start to journal, you may find yourself journaling about that, because you're speaking to those deeper parts of yourself. And so going back to the sister's comments, the isolation during the dark night of the soul, it's necessary because it'll allow you to really face what it is you're going through and sit with those things. As difficult or as much as you may hate it, for us to heal, we have to feel it. For us to for us to transcend, we have to face it. We have to understand it, because those things are a part of ourselves and we have the ability to alchemize that, right? And so for me, a great practice for that is journaling. And another practice for that is meditating, right? Specifically focusing on grounding. I think grounding is very important right now because, as stated, like when the mental is going, it can feel like you don't have no rootedness, you don't have no like sense of control or anything like that, right? And so meditation for me, and when I first started my journey, I started with the root chakra, and the root chakra is all about grounding. It's all about focusing on being in the present moment, focusing on security, structure, and confidence, and things like that. And I think having some type of grounding practice, whatever it is, it's very important. It's very important because the energies are potent. They want they want our attention. They want us to be focused on a multitude of different things. And then on top of that, our energy is potent. We got so many things that we're noticing about selves. We're changing, we're evolving, we're going through these things, and it's a lot of energy. And so it's important that we are grounded during these times so that we are not so easily influenced. We are not so easily influenced by certain things, and that we can actually start to gain a true understanding of self, because we're grounded no longer in the false identities or the survival mode or the programmings that we've been told we are, but we start to find deeper realization within self. So the two practices I would suggest during dark night of the soul, or just any transitional period, is journaling and meditating, focusing on grounding. Now I want to read these. I started to deal with my ego as a younger sister and my higher self, the elder, and my self-talk changed with that alone. Wow. You're not alone, queen. Do the things that made you happy and brought you joy as a child. Cater to you only. I love y'all, bro. I love y'all. This is the community for real. This the that and so you are. That's like a really beautiful take. I'm not gonna lie. That's a really, and if I'm being honest, I've never put it in those words, but seeing that now, it clicks in my mind. Like that's how I kind of view it, because it's like not necessarily say your lower self is. I mean, your inner child is, what's it called? Your inner child is the lower aspect of self, but it's like your inner child is playing in the physical, but you still have that higher self, right? That elder that plays in the spiritual, and both of those are you. So you're able to communicate with both and embody both. That's beautiful. And so for the YouTube family, I just want to read this out. I started to see and deal with my ego as a younger sister, and my higher self, the elder, and my self-talk changed alone. That's a little tidbit. Shout out to and so you are here. Shout out to the sister for that. I mean, I feel them. It's too heavy, and it has been like that for some time. I mean, it's better now. I get tired of sitting with how I feel. I feel you. I feel you. What's good? What's good, brother Ryan? I can honestly say it does get tiring. It does get tiring waking up every day, and it's like, damn, bruh. You feel like you're not getting better. You feel like you're not making any progress, and it can get discouraging. I remember in my journey, it was like I'm waking up every day, and it's something new. It's something new I'm noticing. It's new uncomfort. It's new uncertainty, and my mind doesn't seem like it can shut off. And it's difficult. It really is. But what I feel is important is that you, in any way, and shout out to the beautiful advice, in any way, show up for yourself. Whatever it is, it can be the smallest thing. Whatever it is, if it's you taking a moment before you go to work to have some tea, or to just look outside the window and just breathe and take a moment, whatever it is, show up for yourself. You don't have to go into deep meditation and healing every single day, right? But what matters is that we show up for ourselves, especially right now, because it's going to be very easy to be distracted, to be like, oh, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do it anymore. Let me go into my old habits, or let me go distract myself, or let me, go do something that will make me feel this slight bliss of emotion, but we'll have to face it eventually. And so the hard truth is we got to face it right now. And like I said in the beginning, I encourage y'all, everything I say right now, think of it from a micro perspective on a personal level, but also from a macro perspective, right? Seeing everything we see in the world right now. What are practices? What are structures that we can do in our own life and in with our own community that can help us face what we're seeing, that can help us build something new? Because if we continue to act like nothing is happening, both in our internal world and in our external world, then the cycles will repeat, and then we'll pass it on to our children. And if I'm being honest, I'm not trying to pass nothing on to my children. All I'm trying to pass on to them is bliss, love, intelligence. I don't mind being the person in my family that bears the weight of the generations behind me. I don't mind being that. I don't. And I don't say that with any light, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot. But I'd rather end it right here than to let it keep going. And the truth is, for those things to end, we have to sit with them. We have to feel them, and we have to show up for ourselves. And so this brings me to my last point, which is structure. Okay? Structure. Now, we are in the year of the feminine, right? So when I say structure, I don't mean like hard, militant, disciplined structure. What I mean is find some type of routine, something that suits your lifestyle. And this goes into my phone on 10%. This goes into grounding. Okay, give me 1 second. I want to get my charger. Y'all, I'll be back. All right, hold up, because this too valuable for my phone to die. Y'all stick with me. Hold up. So, you're looking to start your healing arc. Well, you came to the right place. You've been asking, is there more to this life? How do I find this more? What is this more? And all those answers that you seek, that your soul is searching for, is found within. I myself asked those very same questions, and it was the chakras that helped me answer these questions. But why in the world would you want to dive into the chakras? What are chakras, and how does this help me heal? Well, it's understanding one of the basic laws of the universe, which is everything is vibration, meaning everything is energy. And these chakras act as the energy centers within inside our body. And it's when we begin to understand both the external energetics, but recognizing that the external energetics is influenced by our internal energetics, that being the chakras, that we start to put the influential power back in our hands. Because you see, what has happened is we've lived this life being influenced by external modalities, systems, and programmings that have confined not only our mental, but our energetic systems. So in this chakra course, we dive through the main 7 chakras, exploring how they connect to our external environment. Now tuned in. Not the intro. Okay, so structure. All right. One thing that helped me, because I want to break it down from an energetic standpoint. Okay. The emotions that we feel, that's energy emotion. They're carrying information. And so, like, say you're sitting down with the elder and they're giving you a lot of information, right? It's coming in, right? We don't have time to process all of that. And so it's similar to when we are going through a dark night of the soul, or any just transitional period in our life. A lot of information is coming in. A lot of things are being revealed all at the same time. And if we haven't taken the time to cultivate a mind, to cultivate a body, right? To cultivate a being that's able to take in that, it can be uncomfortable. It can be very rattle shaking. Like it will shake you to your core. And so this is where structure comes into place, because this structure and any routine or practice that you build, it will allow you to cultivate. Think of it like a harness, right? A harness of energy. It will allow you to cultivate a mind that can harness this information and be able to process it in a healthy way that allows you to maybe turn it into a practice, to turn it into a physical idea, to turn it into something that can help you transcend, right? And so in my journey and to this day, right, I use structure as a way to basically iron sharpens iron, right? So and I'll tell you the extremes. I'll tell you guys the extremes. So when I was first starting my journey and I was going through the chakras, right? One, I was watching a video, and in the video it was like you got to go vegetarian for you to get the full effects of the chakras. Now, there's truth and there's, any statement, there's truth and there's another side to look at it. But I was just on a very extreme, like, I'm trying to awaken, I'm trying to get the spiritual knowledge. So I was like, bet. I said goodbye to meat. I ain't looked back, okay? Except when I went to Brazil back in 2022. So then from there, I created a routine for myself. So what I did was I was doing online school at the time. So I had my own schedule basically. They said, and this goes to that isolation. I feel like isolation is important because it'll help you really get in tune with yourself, right? And not so influenced by others, okay? So I was on online school. So what would happen is they gave me the work I had to do and then say, hey, this is the due date and it's up to you to finish it by the due date, okay? So off the rip, I had to learn time management. Then secondly, if I was to complete the things that I wanted to complete in the day, I had to wake up at a certain time. So I was waking up at 6 a.m. every day. And before I even started my day, I would journal, I would meditate, and I would do affirmations, okay? This helped me to be able to handle the darkness that I was going through. Because what was happening was now I was shaping my mind. I was getting in tune with myself more and more to be able to handle the energy and the emotions that I was going through. And so when I say structure, it can be you reading a self-help book. It can be you journaling. It can be you meditating. It can be before you starting your day, taking a moment to honor yourself and whatever that is. But what's important is that right now we get deeper in tune with ourselves, because this energy is going to call for us to go into our inner world, to face the things that we may not have faced so that we can heal past them, so that we can break the cycles. And those cycles look different for everybody. But what matters is that we break those cycles. And how we break those cycles, I know I sound like a broken record, but it's by facing it. We got to face it. We have to face it. Right? So that's my spiel on how to navigate through the dark night of the soul. It's called the dark night of the soul for a reason. And to anybody watching this, I don't want to disregard. I know I speak from a very light tone, but I don't want to disregard your transition, what you're feeling right now, because I've been there. I've been there. And it's uncomfortable. It is. But remember, it's an initiation. It's showing you things about yourself. And if we can allow ourselves to sink into that student, right? To listen, to feel it. I know it's painful, right? But to feel it, to journal about it, to release the things that no longer serve us, to rid ourselves of that negative self-talk, to rid ourselves of that programming that tells us we got to do this, this, and this for us to then receive what we feel like we're deserving of. And to return back to wholeness, right? Piece by piece, right? Piece by piece, bringing ourselves back to wholeness, right? Going back to narrowing our focus, right? Focusing on this. Okay, I'm seeing this. Let me focus there, right? Then that starts to improve. And then you find yourself a little bit feeling more whole. So then you take what you learned from that experience and now you focus on this. Then you start to heal, count your W's, face the L's. But those L's are really W's, right? W's, right? And piece by piece, we start to return to wholeness. We start to elevate our consciousness. We start to see from different levels. Why? Because we chose to face that darkness, to let go of what no longer serves us, and embody our divine connection. Because we are spiritual beings before we are human beings. They told us otherwise. Now, I want to end this beautiful live with this spoken word and this Taoist proverb, okay? So, this is a piece I wrote a while back. And it goes like this. Blessed be the karma of my past lives and lineages, the suffering and the past transgressions I only come to know when I face the beat at which my heart drums, roaring with fire as I hear the stories of the ancestors, the battles, what they built, and the wisdom once taught. Blessed be the karma that I now experience them all through this divine vessel. While the trials, the tribulations, and the heartaches may come, I know I walk this journey with the same strength, love, and wisdom that they once walked with. And I say this, and the reason for this entire live is to honor all of the work we've been putting in. And to see that our ancestors, they went through hell. They went through darkness. And when I say this right here, it's not to disregard any of the work that we've put in to get to where we are. But we haven't went through half the things that our ancestors went through. And that's because they took on that weight. They took on that darkness, right? They took on it so that we could be here in the position that we are now to finish what they started. To finish what they started, right? So in that finishing, it may be emotional, it may be spiritual, it may be physical. But what matters is that we remember our connection and that we do not let these physical, material games trick us out of our knowing. That is important. I'm going to save the Taoist proverb for another time. I'll leave it there. My name is Mark Anthony from our YouTube family. Okay? This is Elevated Talk. Welcome to the Cosmic Show. All right? Remember, freedom has always been an option. Much love to y'all. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace. Appreciate y'all.